Right, I am absolutely delighted to welcome to this conversation Lucy Goodwin from Goodwin Kinesiology here in North Bristol. Lucy, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump into why we're in this conversation today.
All right. Well, I am a mum of three, and I started up doing kinesiology about 7 years ago now. And I run a clinic from my garage, which is converted into a clinic. And we've been getting busier and busier over the years. And so last year I took on a business partner, Chris, and we just seem to be taking on more and more people at the moment. So we're helping as many as we can.
Awesome. So kinesiology is a word that we kind of hear banded around that sort of complementary therapy space. Some people have heard it like with a bit of a sport association, but I just don't think people are aware of how many benefits there can be to working with a kinesiologist. So before we kind of start talking about, how it can help you,
Yeah.
what is it? If someone says to you, okay, what is it you do? They could have heard lots of bits and pieces. So how would you best describe what kinesiology is all about?
Yeah, it's a good question actually, because like you say, not everyone knows what it is. And I kind of think we are where sort of, chiropractors were maybe about a decade or so ago, and that people are starting to use us more and more, but we're still unknown to some. So basically what kinesiology is it's all based on the idea that your body's meant to be well, and that it's designed to heal itself. So a bit like if you were to fall over and cut your knee, you would fully expect your body to grow you a nice scab and then some new skin underneath it, because your body is repairing. And your body's trying to do that on the inside all the time. So, from other health conditions, skin problems, digestive problems, headaches, you name it, your body's trying to figure a way through, but it can't always do that. So what kinesiology does is it uses muscle testing to figure out what systems are out of balance in the body that aren't working correctly, that are at the root of that health problem, so that you can then fix those systems and get them working again, so the body can then start to recover. So to give you an example, if somebody came in with IBS, we've got 44 different muscles that we can test in kinesiology. So I can test muscles for the heart, the kidneys, your lungs, your immune system, your large intestine, your bladder. So there's loads of things that we can cover. If you came in with something like IBS, which is quite a classic one that we see quite a lot, then I would test various different digestive muscles, and we would see which ones are working, which ones aren't. Once we understand which ones aren't and we know that we want to fix those, we will then test on the body and find appropriate nutrition. So we always work in 4 areas. So the first we do is the chemical realm. So that's looking at nutrition to find what sort of vitamins, minerals, herbs might you need to help the digestive system to begin to repair itself. We also do that in reverse. So we look and see not just what you need, but also what don't you need. So that's where we do food intolerance testing to make sure that you're not going to be eating something that's making things worse. So we might find that actually you're not great with wheat at the moment, and we might suggest that you come away from that for a time. That's the chemical realm. We also work in the physical realm, which is all about lymphatic massage. So every system has its own set of matching lymphatic points. So I would massage particular points for whatever is shown to be not working. So if it was your large intestine, I might be rubbing up the sides of your thighs. If it's your small intestine, I might be massaging all underneath your rib cage. It will be dictated based on what's shown up. We also do energetical work. So that's the third realm. And that's very much like what you would get from seeing an acupuncturist, but minus the needles. So we're very much working with like the meridian energies in the body. We work on certain acupressure points, all getting energy flowing right and kind of getting the body cleansed up energetically. I tend to describe it to people as sort of saying, like, think of like the energy lines in your body as like little gutter pipes, and we're just kind of blowing away the leaves, just getting everything sort of flowing right. And we do emotional work, which is the mental realm. So stresses and strains can all have a big impact on our body and our ability to heal. So we discuss those sorts of things with you, try and lighten your load. And for big things, we do have like specific emotional techniques that we can use to help with like trauma and that side of stuff. So the idea is by the time you finished a session, your body's working really well, physically, energetically, you're lighter emotionally, you know what to take and what not to have. once you leave, and you can start doing all of that as soon as you get home. And then it's really got all the tools it's needed. It's got this lovely clean slate to then build upon to get itself stronger and start recovering and healing from your symptoms.
What a brilliant answer to a very kind of open-ended
Just
tell me what this is.
Sorry.
So it really is a kind of multi-pronged attack, isn't it? You know, it absolutely is about bringing your body back into that equilibrium, back into that balanced state. But looking at every aspect and every angle of it. And you know, my experience of kinesiology with you has literally just blown me away. And you know, from every time I see you, just really feeling like we look at things from all angles, and anything that might be having any impact. It's very easy, isn't it, for us to think this is happening for me in my digestive system, so I'm just going to look at what's going on there. And you know, you and I know so well that the impact, the real physiological impact that stresses and emotions can have on our body, and how actually nothing in our body exists in isolation.
Absolutely.
And how they all cascade into one another with their effects is really impactful. So when you can bring in looking at our state of health from all of those angles, it makes perfect sense, or just to me anyway.
It's really interesting. You know, I see people who they've sort of gone down the route of thinking, well, I've got tummy problems, so I stopped eating bread for a while, and it helped a bit, but it didn't fully resolve it. And that's wonderful, because they're starting to become more aware of what their body needs and trying to make some adjustments. But what's really nice is that we're able to definitively go, look, I really think that your body's a bit of a mismatch with wheat at the moment. It's just not working for you. So give it a complete rest. And then, but that's only a tiny bit. It's not just about the food, you know, because if you're mega stressed when you're eating, you're not producing the same level of digestive enzymes, you're not producing the same amount of stomach acid. So you could be popping foods in that your body just cannot break down and deal with. So, you know, you could be putting in healthy foods, but if you're like, when you eat, even those aren't going to necessarily sit particularly well. So it's all about putting the whole lot together so that your body's really working at its optimum.
Yeah. And also, you know, my understanding, it when you talk about what you don't need being almost as important as what you do, it's that, you know, it's so easy, isn't it, to go into a health food shop, to work with someone that has natural health products. And I say that as someone who does work with natural health products, to end up with this huge array of supplements that we're rattling around inside us. And, you know, working with you, will that help them to decide what they need at what particular time, what they don't need, you know, whether it's actually doing anything at all with their body?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're very welcome. I always say to people, like, if you've got any vitamins or anything anything you've been, herbs, whatever you've been taking in your cupboards, bring them along, because I can test your own stuff on you and see if it's going to work. Because obviously, if you've got something you can use of your own, brilliant. It saves you going and buying something else. But yeah, absolutely. Because we test things specifically on the body. So I appreciate it sounds a little bit different, and it's a bit of a funny one to get your head around. But what we actually do is that if we find a weak muscle, we would pick out a supplement that kind of makes logical sense. You know, we're sort of using educated guesswork at that point. So I'll keep using IBS as an example, just because it's an easy one to get your head into. So say, for instance, I find a weak large intestine muscle that I want to fix. I might then say, well, maybe you need probiotics. And, you know, if you'd gone into a health food shop, you might pick up probiotics and they might help you. But what I find is, and what kinesiology is all about, is that everyone is so individual and so unique. You know, I could see 5 people with IBS, but they'd all need different things. One might need their gut healing, one might need some parasites or bacteria or fungus or something clearing out, one might need to rebuild all their gut bacteria. It's going to be completely different for each person. So I could test probiotics on that body thinking, it kind of feels like that would be a sensible thing, and it might just absolutely not be the right thing for them. So I place the supplements onto the body, and then we retest that muscle, and if that weak muscle strengthens, I know that those supplements are the right thing for that muscle. So it gets really, really specific. And it's not just like take probiotics, it's about take these probiotics from this particular company. So I test lots of different brands. We're not tied to anybody. We're really open-minded as to what, you know, the right thing is for each person. So
and you know, supplements are a very expensive distraction for some people, aren't they? And if you're taking lots and not knowing if they're going to help, working with someone like you to actually decide, no, these ones are the ones that you need, that, you know, we've tested it and it really is going to help you, at least you know you're directing your spend in the right direction then too, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I actually work with a friend of mine who's a nutritionist, and sometimes she comes to me for appointments herself, and I've got a couple of her clients where she knows what she wants to give them, but then I will see them to kind of go, right, well, I know she wants you on a vitamin C, this is the C that you need. Yeah. And she wants you on a vitamin D or a magnesium, this is the brand that you need. And then we can just really hone that in, so you're not wasting time getting the wrong stuff. It's so much more powerful when it matches with your body.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned IBS a couple of times. And I think, you know, people will think, they'll hear the sort of food intolerance testing, they'll hear all the talk of digestive health, so straight away their brain is going to go there. But who else benefits from working with a kinesiology? And again, that might be a very open-ended question, and one that's,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, to be honest, I would really say if you've got any symptom, any health problem, it is absolutely worth a visit. So, because ultimately, any symptom that your body's got, it's just your body kind of going, hello, like, I need a little fix, something's not quite right. You know, you've got a twingy back, and perhaps there's back muscles we can test. So we can work structurally as well to see what back muscles need working. Do they need nutritional support? It's not necessarily just about fixing the structural stuff. Sometimes there's energy work that needs to be done to fix the back, as well as the massage and finding maybe some really good calcium to help. You know, it's all about sort of working with that unique person. So, I mean, other things that we see a lot of would be things like hormonal imbalances. So women going through the menopause, people with menstrual problems, headaches and migraines, skin problems, so eczema, psoriasis, spots, unusual rashes. Honestly, it's such a wide array. I mean, I think where we sometimes, I feel, specialize is the things where you've been to your GP and they're stuck. And you know, and you've sort of, because most people will go to the doctor's first port of call. That's how we're all brought up, and that makes total sense. And it's always sensible to go to the doctors and just check out nothing serious is going on. But we sort of come into our own where you followed that path, you're not getting any better, there's nothing in particular that they can diagnose you with, but you need the help. Having said that, we will also work with diagnosed conditions like Crohn's, colitis, diabetes, you know, anything like that, you name it, we'll give it a crack. We'll take it on.
It's, as you say, it's, you know, it's where conventional medicine, for want of a better phrase, is just sort of coming up against the buffers, and or you've got a diagnosis and then it's like, here you go, here's a sheet, follow the advice on that sheet, and you're like, what?
Yeah, how do I
yeah, so I, you know, it's that taking that proactive step yourself, isn't it? And as you say, if you find yourself in that state of dis-ease, something's not working the way it should do in your body. So, you know, maybe kinesiology can help. Is it, you know, you talk about the sort of testing the muscles and things like that. So is it an adult therapy, or do you work with children as well?
So we can work with all ages. So my youngest client was 6 weeks old, little tiddler, and he was lovely. But yeah, right up to, I mean, I think probably my oldest client she would have been late 80s. So, but because we do use muscle testing, when we work with people who are perhaps not able for us to actually work on their muscles, then we use a surrogate, which again, I appreciate sounds maybe a little bit strange, but the way that we do it is, and we do this with children, because probably from about age sort of 10ish onwards, you can read directly on that person's body, but you obviously particularly when we're doing a session, you want to make sure you're getting the most accurate read possible so that you're giving accurate information, which is why I'm really big on like being really anal with my testing and stuff, and I make sure everyone in the clinic is the same as well. Boots. But yeah, so with children, what you do is you get them to be in connection with like a surrogate body. So say the parent that's brought them along, you use the parent to do the testing whilst there's some skin contact between them and the child. And it's a bit like, you know, if that child was to hold an electric fence and then their mum held their hand, they would be electrocuted as well, because that current passes through. And that's really all we're doing. We're just checking, because what I would do is, you know, say it was a child with, I don't know, a recurrent immune problem. So I see lots of children with things like recurrent tonsillitis, that kind of stuff. So I might test an immune muscle that's weak, but then what I'd do is I'd get them to break contact and check is that muscle strong on the mum? Because obviously I could pick up problems accidentally about the mum. So, and that really seems to blow people's minds, you know, like they'll be like, it was perfectly strong. And then they'll hold their child's hand and be like, I can't do it. And they don't, you know, and it's because it's you're picking up what's going on with the child rather than with them. But yeah, it's really effective and we get fantastic results with children.
So if someone was to come along and to have a session with you, you talk about muscle testing and things like that. So how does a session work? What would someone expect if they were coming to see Lucy for a session?
So we would send out a questionnaire in advance just to get a bit of a feel for what's going on with you, but we will still always have like a good chat when you come in. I like to sort of have a bit of a chin wag with people and just get to know what's happening, because you get more detail out with that face-to-face talk. All of our initial appointments are 2 hours, so you get a really decent stint of time, and then follow-ups are an hour and a half. Once we've kind of figured out, you know, what's happening for you and what your priorities are, because it's very much about you. You know, you might come to the session with 10 different problems, and I might be thinking, oh, great, I love fixing headaches, but you're like, actually, my thing is my foot. It's all about the foot. You know, yes, I get headaches, but I want you to sort my foot out. It's like, well, that's fine. It's your session, so I'll focus on what your priorities are. So then we would get you led up on a massage table and we would begin testing muscles. So we sort of, you know, we start into it quite slowly so you can get a feel for what we're doing. And because it's new, it's like learning a bit of a language in a way. As we find weaknesses, we'll search for different supplements by putting them on the body. And then once we've found something is strong, then we'll go into massaging points to kind of clear away congestion, working with the energy lines in the body, holding different like neurovascular points on the head, different acupressure points on the rest of the body. And then we'll take the supplements off and come back to test that muscle again to see, is that muscle now working on its own? Is it now strengthened up? And we wouldn't move on until it was. So you check that muscle's now working, and then you go on to hunting out your next muscle, and then keep going through like that. So sorry, go on.
I was going to say, in your experience, and again, and I appreciate this is quite a difficult question when you have this massive realm of clients that come and work with you. You know, how soon do people feel the benefit of adopting kinesiology as part of their healing?
It really varies. So, I mean, I had someone come in today with really bad back pain. They got off the table, it had gone. So in that case, instant. I had someone else today with acid reflux, and I did a particular digestive massage to kind of help with moving the esophagus away, the stomach away from the esophagus. And she got up with that sort of full tense sort of burny feeling she had disappeared. So sometimes results are instant. But equally, if you've had something long term, like I had a girl recently with Crohn's. She'd been suffering for a couple of years. She'd been in and out of the hospital, seen private doctors, was getting nowhere. We had a session when she got up off the table. She felt, most people get up and just feel a bit lighter, you know, at the very least. That's the least you'll get. You know, you'll get up and just think, oh, I just feel a bit, just like things are moving well, and I just feel a bit more energetic, and you know, you just feel a bit more really. Yeah. And she got up feeling like that, and within I'd say about a weekish of her making then the changes, supplements coming in, that's when she started to notice symptoms were lifting. And when she came back a month later, all of her symptoms are gone. It was mind-blowing, really. I did, you know, what you often see is that someone's improved and then you see them again and they improve some more, and then you see them again, and then, you know, my aim is, in the nicest possible way, always to get rid of everybody. You know, within sort of 3 to 6 sessions, I want people to be kind of going, I don't need you anymore, I feel fine. So that's always the plan. It's a terrible business plan. But
it's sort of, so much of what you do, and this is what I've certainly found working with you, so much of what you do is about education. It's about raising our awareness of what's happening with our body. If this is happening, you know, something's going on with your stomach acid, or if this is happening, something's going on with your bacterial flora in your stomach. You know, this is happening, you know, the last time this came up, such and such was going on for you, wasn't it? Is that back in the background? And there's a huge part of education about what you do as well, and you know, that is giving us as your clients the tools to recognize things as they come up, to think, right, I remember this, Lucy suggested that, I've got some of this in the cupboard, actually I'm just going to check in with Lucy, is this still the right thing to be doing? You know, that's great, that sort of journey that your client comes on, where they are looking for that help, and then they learn with you and they understand their bodies that little bit better, and then, as you say, you kind of, you know, let them fly after that, and it's still knowing that they can come back if they need to top up.
Absolutely. And then some people choose to just come back like once every 3 months just for a little top up. I mean, I go and have a session myself once every 8 weeks. As I, you know, in an ideal world, I mean, I say in the nicest possible way, I want people to get going, but it's because I want people to feel better and to feel like they don't need me. But having said that, I do have some clients that I've been seeing since I began just because they love it and they love coming along, and they like, you know, it's like being a little body detective. So it's kind of just going, do you know what, this is a little bit out at the moment, this needs a little tweak, you know, and just, you know, you keep on these couple of basic things, you know, maybe you just need a vitamin B and a nice oil just to keep you ticking, something like that. And it just empowers people to be thinking, well, I'm taking action to just constantly look after myself.
Yeah, and I would imagine that,
nice.
you know, certainly for women as they're approaching those perimenopausal years, when it
Yeah.
feels like everything's changing and there's this constant disturbance in the force, I
Yeah.
would imagine that's a really powerful time to be working with you, as just, again, tuning into that awareness of what's going on with my body. Right, is this a hormonal thing? Is what's happening with my digestive system to do my hormones? Am I letting someone make my waters choppy right now? And
Yeah.
you know, and just, you know, that sounding board, that emotional support, that energetic support, again, all of these streams of the treatment coming together.
Yeah, that's it. And it's, you know, it's fantastic for sorting out hormonal issues. I've had quite a few women that I've supported through the menopause, and it's really helped with, you know, reducing hot flushes and lessen their anxiety, better sleep, all the sorts of things that, you know, you might be sort of suffering with. Yeah, it can be great to do. And you know, and ultimately, isn't it the case with all therapies, I guess, that when you use things preventatively to look after your health, that's the best place to be. You know, you really want to deal with things before they even begin, as opposed to, you know, firefighting off all the things that have already happened. So I know that's not always possible, but that's, you know, an optimum place to get to if you can.
And education is a big part of what you do. So I know that you run courses and things as well, don't you? So we're going to kind of touch on that in a second. But before we do that, how's COVID changed things for you? At the start of lockdown, things were very different, weren't they? But your position has been viewed differently now as we've had the latest lockdown. So how, you know, obviously it's a hands-on treatment.
Yeah.
So how have you had to adopt and adapt to that situation, and how has it changed the way that you deliver your treatment to your clients?
Yeah, I mean, so when the first lockdown happened, we weren't allowed to work. And then when the second lockdown happened, I assumed we weren't allowed to work and I cancelled everyone, and then found out I was allowed to work. But I thought, now I've cancelled everyone, I'll have a couple of weeks off instead and just have some rest, and then I'll get back to it. So what actually happened was, when the November one happened, I think they had us in originally with like hairdressers and nails and in that sort of side, that group. But then our insurance changed us, so we fall in with other health professionals. So if chiropractors are working, basically we're working. We're in that sort of grouping now, which is great. So we can carry on. We're insured, so we're still open and we're running at the moment. So even in the strictest of lockdowns, we can do our thing. And we're just PPE'd up. So, you know, we take everyone's temperatures when they come in. We tend to sort of sit socially distanced, not that we necessarily have to because we've got all our bits and bobs on, but to start. And then when we're working, obviously we're all anti-vaxxed and we have our visors and masks and whatnot. So yeah, we're as covered up as we can be. And we take our own temperature every day, obviously, before we start a set of treatments too. And just little things like just asking people not to come early so they're not lingering around in reception if there's extra people there. So we've got people, no one's kind of crossing paths with others. And yeah, but generally it's working really well, and people are super considerate, I find. So it's been good.
Real. And how would someone get started with you? You talked about that initial 2-hour appointment, but how would someone make that happen?
So you just need to get in touch, really. So we've got a Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/Goodwin Kinesiology. We've got a website, which is goodwinkinesiology.co.uk. So you can email from there. You can message on the Facebook page. We're on Instagram. So again, just at Goodwin Kinesiology. You can message from there if you want to. And the phone number's dotted all over the all over the website and on the Facebook page as well. So you can text us or ring us, entirely up to you, whatever your preferred method of communication. So
brilliant. And you've spent such a long time on your training, but if someone isn't in our area, Lucy, and I know you do some online support for your clients, but if someone wasn't in our area but they really like the sound of kinesiology and they want to explore the opportunity to do that near them,
Yes.
how would they find their Lucy? How where do they start to look, and how do they know that that's someone who's trained like you have and hasn't just sort of got 2 coupons off a cereal packet and paid a bit of money and they've got a certificate and they've kind of sent off for all these vials of something and you're a kinesiologist now? How can they find someone reputable, someone?
Yeah, because there are, as with any industry, I think there probably, there are a few people out there that perhaps haven't done things quite so thoroughly, and you can actually do kinesiology courses online, which upsets me because I just think how can you figure out how to muscle test if you're not actually practicing in it and having someone watching you and observing and making sure you get it bang on, because it does take time to learn how to read muscles correctly. But anyway, I won't get on my soapbox about that. So the chap that brought kinesiology to the UK was Brian Butler. So kinesiology was devised by an American chiropractor called George Goodhart. He taught Brian brought it to the UK and he trained and set up the school here. So all kinesiologists that have kind of set up right back then, eventually, it's all sort of all feeds back to Brian. And Brian's daughter Claire now runs our school. So our school is the Academy of Systematic Kinesiology. So we're very much the original form, which is great because our academy is like super passionate about only using really, really tried and tested methods. We're very, very strict on, there's only certain things that we're allowed to do and they have to have been sort of practiced and tested and made sure that they're reliable and accurate over the years. So which I love, because I am a bit of a sciencey person originally, so to do something that's a little bit more out there for me had to be very tangible, solid, and make sense. So that works for me. So if you want to find another kinesiologist with the same training, you can go on to if you literally just Google search the Academy of Systematic Kinesiology, their website will come up, and then there's a link on there to find a practitioner. And it will give you people's qualifications and whatnot, so you can see what you're finding, because you can start practicing. We have a foundation course, a practitioner course, and a diploma course. I've done all 3, but you can start practicing legitimately on people from practitioner course onwards, which is great. More than enough from the practitioner course.
So if there are varying levels of sort of specialization and experience out there, but they've come through that same route, what kind of range of pricing would people expect to pay for that, sort of those different levels of experience? What would be reasonable to expect?
I think it's I think it's quite individual. I'd say probably the cheapest I would tend to, when I started, I was charging £40. So it does vary a bit. I would say probably your average is going to be somewhere between the sort of 65 to 85 kind of mark for an initial session where you're looking at maybe an hour and a half to an hour and 45. We range in our clinic. So I charge 95 for a session. So what we kind of do is we have just like a flat fee. So we always charge the same amount for an hour and a half. And then when you come for your initial, you sort of get like a bonus 30 minutes for the same price you do your 2-hour one. So I charge 95, and that's really just because I've been doing it an awful long time. I teach now, teach kinesiology as well. We have another girl that works in our clinic as well, and she charges 75. And then Chris, my business partner, as he's a little bit newer to the game, he charges 50. But so we kind of stagger it based on our experience. So you have a nice range of options, and hopefully that sort of gives something for everybody to choose from, really. So
cool. And just to kind of wrap up, because we kind of alluded to this earlier, education and sort of passing on your knowledge in lots of different ways is a real passion of yours. So what's the future for Goodwin Kinesiology? You've expanded so much in the last sort of 18 months, 2 years. But so what is that now allowing you to offer, and what offerings are you excited about in the future?
We've got loads of little different things happening at the moment. So I've started doing more of like an intensive coaching option for people. So I do that now for people who really don't know what to do with themselves, so that's kind of working really well for people that have, you know, they have the kinesiology session, but they need that support around it, like what to eat, how to cook, how do I make these changes. They maybe need more regular emotional support. We bespoke it depending on what they need. So I do packages like that now as well, which I tend to just sort of, you kind of figure out if someone that might be applicable to somebody when they first get in touch. But yeah, that involves like talking every week for an hour. People have got unlimited access to me on Messenger. So I'm literally in your pocket, holding your hand the whole way through. So there's that as an option. And we'll be expanding that out to the other guys as we go as well. I also teach kinesiology, so my next course starts up in April, so you can do foundation kinesiology with me. So you will learn every single muscle, every technique, how to food test. It's game changing. Like, it really changes how to look at your own health, how to look at your life, your family's life, and you have so many tools there to just then immediately be able to help the people around you and yourself when things do go wrong with health. So that's fab. And we're looking into doing a few more sort of online courses as well, where you can have an option to either combine it with a treatment or to just do it online. So, and we're going to make those kind of topic focused. So we're going to do things like running gut overhaul courses. I did one in the original lockdown, which was really successful and really helped people. Things to sort of turn around hormonal things. I think menopause seems to be quite a big thing for quite a few of my clients at the moment. So looking at that. So we might do one on like stress and anxiety, low mood, and it's not just about looking at emotions. You know, I did a mindset overhaul course back in the last lockdown, and actually a key module in that was what you're eating. So, which is really interesting. So there's a lot of evidence to show that what you eat affects your mental health. So there's lots of different areas that we're going to be exploring around those. So yeah, lots going on really, and we just sort of seem to be getting busier and busier. So my own diary is booked quite a way in advance, hence I needed the lovely Christopher to come and help, and he's now getting really booked out, and he's had despite only been doing it for just coming up for a year, he's absolutely cracking. He's had some amazing results with skin issues, digestive issues. Yeah, so
I've had a treatment with both of you.
Yeah.
And just your different approach. It's that, as you say, it's that systematic approach. You've learned in the same way, but you're coming at it from different angles, and just to hear his passion for something that's helped him, and now he can use that to help other people is incredible. So I'm really looking forward to bringing Chris in on a call, because we're going to talk about some of the kind of sports and injury rehab that kinesiology can really help with. So look out for that one coming up. But yeah, it's been brilliant to talk to you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out, for being one of our referral partners at Tip the Balance. And we'll get all of those course details popping up in the group. We'll get all of the contact details next to this, and well publicized as well, so people can get in touch with you. So thank you so much for being part of this call.
No, thanks for asking me. I really appreciate it. It's really lovely of you. Thank you.